We gather once again this day to observe Yom Ha'Shoah and to honor with deepest sadness all those who were the victims of the Holocaust and who witnessed one of human history's darkest moments. Today, we wish to share a lesser-known story of that time, a local tale of great hardship, loss, and triumph. The year was 1935 in Germany, and with the enactment of the Nuremberg laws, the government restrictions and harassment of Jews steadily increased. Eventually, the licenses of all Jewish physicians were revoked. Even those who for generations had been integrated into German society and had graduated from the most prestigious medical institutions, all were systematically robbed of their profession, their dignity, and their livelihoods. For many of these doctors, especially the young, there was little choice but to flee. America was the place many chose, but visas were scarce, and in many cases it meant leaving their parents and their extended families behind with only a dream of reconciliation and reunion in their hearts. Between 1938 and 1940, some of the Jewish physicians who had arrived in America settled in Syracuse and in the smaller towns in upstate New York. They came with nothing, faced official barriers to practice, as well as prejudice and suspicion. Despite all this, they gave selflessly to their adopted communities and their new country. Today, we tell the story of two such families, German Jewish physicians who were driven through desperation by hope, how they survived, and the price they paid. Let me introduce you to the first family, Dr. and Mrs. Mullah. Their parents, Harry and Theresia Mullah, and Wilhelm and Gertrude Gittler, were among the thousands of German Jews who made the agonizing decision to send their children abroad to safety, to become Aus Kindern wurden Briefe, children turned into letters.
I am Hans Gert Mullah, born in Germany in 1908. My American name is Harold. I am a physician, like my father. I graduated from medical school in Breslau in 1934, having studied in Freiburg and Munich as well. I was able to practice in Germany until 1937.
I am Elsa, his wife. We arrived in the United States in 1938. Although my husband had been practicing in Germany, he was not permitted to practice in the United States until he completed another internship in New York City. Our three children, Stephen, Nancy, and Teresa, they were born here.
Let me introduce you to the Alexander family.
I am Dr. Eugene Karl Alexander, a fifth-generation German Jew, born in 1900 to Emil and Anna Alexander. I opened a general medical practice on Alexanderplatz in Berlin in 1933.
I am his wife, Loni. We arrived in the United States in 1939.
When I first began my practice, things initially went well, until Hitler's Nuremberg laws were put into effect. Dismissed from the German Medical Association, I lost my hospital privileges and was allowed to only take care of Jewish patients who were themselves becoming impoverished. I was hardly able to support my family. I didn't think things could get worse. But in 1938, the Nazis revoked my medical license. I will never forget that day when a Nazi doctor, a recent graduate of my medical school, walked into my office.
Guten Tag, Herr Doctor. I am Dr. Noblock.
Yes, doctor, how can I help you?
I have authorization here from the State Office of Jewish Professional Affairs. These papers are to inform you that I'm taking over this medical office, including all the equipment. I must also inform you that you will vacate the apartment next door so that I can have it for myself and my family. You have 1 week to remove your belongings. And here is a copy of the orders. Heil Hitler.
I don't know what I would have done if that had happened to me. Things were going poorly for us, too. My practice was closed, and we struggled with the choice to leave. But how could we tear ourselves away from our loving parents? What assurance will we have that they would be all right?
No matter how far away the time of love and peace, still it will come, whether soon or late. That time, it's no dream. I hear the song of love and peace, the mighty singing, and every note of the song asserts, the sun has risen. The night is ending, the world is awakening with hope and joy and striving. You hear in the air a voice calls to happiness, to joy, to life. Und so wie weicht noch sein die Zeit von Liebe und von Shalom, doch kommen wir zu Fritze spät, die Zeit, es ist kein Cholem. Doch kommen wir zu Fritze spät, die Zeit, es ist kein Cholem.
As you remember, Harry and Theresa Mullah had encouraged their 4 children, Hans Gert, Lilo, Ursula, and Klaus, to emigrate to America. And as they continued to seek the means to follow them, they kept in touch through letters.
Hans, I will never forget what your parents said to us in this letter, the one dated January 15th, 1937. They wrote, "Children, you must take this opportunity and go and make a life in America. For the moment, things are not looking good for the Jews, but we believe this madness will pass. We hope that a good life can be had in America where one can live and work in calm, freedom, and respect for one's fellow man."
We were able to obtain the needed affidavits and exit visas. I came to the United States in October 1937 to locate sponsors and to make the necessary arrangements. Then I had to return to Germany to await our turn. Finally, in May 1938, we were permitted to leave Germany for the United States. But I could not get visas for our parents. We boarded a ship in Hamburg for America. With us were my sister and her husband, Dr. Gerhard Steinitz, leaving our parents behind.
When Kristallnacht took place on November 9th, 1938, this monstrous event convinced the Alexanders that they must leave. Distant cousins in America provided the precious affidavits, and after much wait and obstacles, they too obtained entry visas to the United States.
Unfortunately, we could not get the visas for our parents, just for us and our son Stefan. We had to leave our parents behind, and we constantly worried about their fate.
Look at this passport that we were granted. I can hardly look at it or touch it. Look at the Nazi eagle and the swastika on it. And inside, the names of my parents. Eugene Israel And Loni, Sarah, did you know that the Nazis insisted that every Jew on their documents have those middle names to identify them? And here, the red J for Juden. We arrived in New York City in December of 1939 from Rotterdam with just our personal belongings in a trunk.
It was a mixed welcome that greeted them in America. There existed some fear within the American medical community of competition from their European counterparts.
I am an official of the National Resettlement Committee. Welcome to America, Dr. Alexander and Mrs. Alexander, and welcome to our offices. We will do what we can to help you learn English and to pass the licensing exam. And here is a loan of $650 to help with your expenses. But we expect you to repay this loan in toto. And we also recommend that you explore possibilities for medical practice in small or rural areas in upstate New York. Good luck to you. Good luck to you.
I had a classmate in Berlin, a Dr. Henry Heinz Townsend, who was living in Syracuse. He helped us to find the community of Homer near Cortland, which was in need of a general practitioner because the local physicians had enlisted in the army.
Life was good in that pretty little town, and my husband's practice grew slowly.
Although some patients were initially uncomfortable with my German accent, they respected what I did for them, and my English rapidly improved. But my medical colleagues in the area were not as welcoming. For 2 years, I was denied hospital privileges at the nearby Cortland Hospital, ostensibly because I was classified as an enemy alien.
We also were helped by the Resettlement Committee, and I passed my New York State medical licensing exam and received my license. We were encouraged to go upstate, and we found an opportunity, first in Lysander, and after 2 years, I moved my practice to Cato.
Despite some early adjustment problems, things went reasonably well in their new small-town lives. But these days of relative contentment were marred by the knowledge that their parents were suffering. Hitler was on the move, and the news was full of the growing dangers in Nazi Germany. Both the Mullers and the Alexanders had become Aus Kindern wurden Briefe, children turned into letters, as they waited anxiously by the mailbox for news from their loved ones.
Mein Gott, Hans, look at this letter from your parents. Look, it's marked with swastikas and the word geöffnet. It's been opened, and it's censored, those Schweins.
And look at all the portions that they blacked out in ink. What didn't the Nazis want us to know?
The letters were frequent at first and sounded increasingly desperate. With great anticipation, they waited for the next one.
Where are you going, Loni? To get the mail? It's only 1 o'clock, and the postman never gets here before 2.
I feel better if I take the letter from his hand.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Alexander. There's a letter for you, and it seems to be from Germany. You always are waiting for me right outside on the porch, but it's so cold. It's -5 degrees, the coldest February I can remember. Please send my best wishes to the doc.
Thank you.
Because Loni's mother was aware of the censorship practices, her letters contained barely a hint of what they were enduring in Berlin. The letters contained merely clues of the horrors.
October 24th, 1941. Beloved children, we telegraphed you this week, get tourist visa Cuba. You can well imagine that we did not intend to put you in a panic without reason. In the meantime, We heard that Ecuador would be a possibility. We are convinced that you will do your utmost. Should you not be successful, we will have to submit to our inevitable fate.
Even with all the censorship, the children learned to read between the lines.
Another letter. It's dated November 12th, 1942. It's taken so long. It says, "We suppose you have learned of our misfortune hindering us being with you. We had everything arranged, yet our hopes are shattered again. This has happened 3 times already, and it's hard to bear such disappointments. We hope this will be the last."
Soon the letters became less frequent, then handwritten, as typewriters were confiscated for the German war effort. Their parents and family members were now in ghettos and concentration camps. A few letters were forwarded through the Red Cross and took months to arrive.
Letter dated April 21st, 1943. Dear children, our lives have become very difficult. We await our departure to Theresienstadt. We are in good health, but whether we reunite remains to be seen.
Alas, it was not to be. Shortly thereafter, Harry and Theresia Mullah were sent to Theresienstadt, and on October 28, 1944, they were deported on transport EV from Theresienstadt to Auschwitz, where they were murdered upon arrival.
Loni's parents, Paul and Ellie Herzberg, were also transported to Auschwitz in March of 1944 and presumably murdered on arrival.
It's ironic that we both found new life here in central New York with our loved ones. But our loved ones, they met their deaths in the same place, Auschwitz, along with so many countless others.
Ani mahamin, ani mahamin, ani mahamin, ani mahamin, bimuna shlema, bi'ar hamashiach, bi'afar pi sheyit mamea, im kol ze ani mamin, im kol ze achazelo, b'chol yom sheyavo, ani mamin, ani mamin, ani mamin, ani mamin.
You know, I tried to go back to Europe as a U.S. soldier, but my many attempts were rejected.
Dr. Alexander received the following letter on July 29, 1942, from the War Department, the Office of Surgeon General. In answer to your recent letter, it is not believed that enemy aliens who have entered the U.S. prior to January 1, 1938, will be favorably considered for citizenship. This policy, while unjust in most cases, is believed to be a necessary wartime precaution.
Despite this, both families showed great patriotism. This country had given them much, and they gave back with ardor and grace.
We desperately wanted to become U.S. citizens. We studied diligently so we could be naturalized. After the obligatory 5-year wait, we finally passed our examinations, and how happy we were. We were now American citizens.
Now that I was a citizen, I could join the U.S. Army. In 1944, I joined the 10th Mountain Division as a member of the 10th Medical Battalion. While in the Apennine Mountains in Italy, I tended to our soldiers at the battlefront. In 1945, I was awarded a Bronze Star Medal for meritorious service in combat. My service in the U.S. Army was very important to me. It was a small way in which I could thank America for giving us refuge.
When the war ended in Europe, the Alexanders were honored by their community for their service and their losses. Dr. Eugene was made the Grand Marshal of the 4th of July parade.
My most memorable image is of my 11-year-old son, Stefan, now named Stephen, riding his bicycle decorated with red, white, and blue bunting in the parade.
Eugene continued his practice in Homer until his death in 1963. He is survived by his children, Dr. Stephen Alexander and Eleanor Sontag.
After the war, Dr. Harold Mullah returned to Cato and the job he loved as a country doctor. Tragically, in mid-1947, while caring for the community he loved, he contracted mumps from a patient and died 10 days later from complications. Harold was 38 years old. He is survived by his children Stephen Muller, Nancy Belkowitz, and Teresa Friend.
The stories of these two families, the Alexanders and the Mullers, are symbolic of a number of families who resettled in the central New York area and in other parts of our country. It is with great respect that we acknowledge all victims of the Holocaust and a generation of children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who are their legacy. We are pleased to recognize the son and daughter of Dr. Eugene Alexander, Dr. Stephen Alexander, and Eleanor Sontag, as well as Nancy Belkowitz, daughter of Dr. Hans Harold Muller, all who are here with us today. Would you please stand? We also acknowledge the families of other Jewish physicians who resettled in this area. We ask two from those families to stand at this time. Randy Schall, son of Dr. Fritz Schall, Dr. Peter Townsend, son of Dr. Henry Townsend. Today, we commemorate a most painful time, and we appreciate that one significance of our Holocaust remembrance is in recognizing those who escaped with the courage to build life in honor of those who were denied it.
I think so many of you know God Bless America. Please join me as we sing. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, white with foam. God